Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this stream of Europa Universalis IV, the Community Clash. This is now the third session that we are beginning, and we are, I think, about ready. We're just waiting for Holy Victor and Machiavelli to ready up, and then I think we're going to be going. So there are a couple of players absent today. Let me just bring up the list of who. So at the moment, the protected nations are Cologne, Tunis, Karakoyunlu, Poland, Saxony, and the Great Horde. So Oman and the Great Horde are new players. We brought them in now. And the not protected nations are Naples, the Mamelukes, Bohemia, and Hungary. So there are some very large bits of land currently up for grabs, as those players are now absent for 2 weeks in a row. Or 3 weeks in Hungary's case. Nope, I was not muted. Yeah, oh well. I was busy trying to organise things, so you got a little bit off the curtain lifted there. It's not very interesting, it's basically just me taking a roll call. Anyway, once the game has loaded up, I will go into player map mode and I will introduce everyone again. I mean, they've already been introduced, they're just going to start playing. And we'll talk a little bit about the two new players. That's going to be the Great Horde. If he gets in, he's having tech issues at the moment, but he should be able to get in. And Oman, which is going to be a very interesting addition because he is on the very, very edge of the map, and he has some kind of cool things to do. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. As always, you can type in !goals with an S if you want to see what the goals currently are. And, yeah. One other thing I just wanted to double check before we get going here. Apparently my Canadian geography was off. Okay, so that's the reason I chose Hochelaga over Stadacona. Cool. One of my commenters on YouTube was saying that this is Montreal and this is Quebec, and Quebec should be the French main goal. They have to have one city which is built up to a certain level. But the reason I made it Hochelaga, which is Montreal, is because it has a centre of trade. So it's just a more useful province. I just need to respond with that comment. I'm not going to change the provinces. I'm hoping that neither Bohemia nor the Mamelukes get squashed. I'm a little bit, yeah, irritated that they're not here. But never mind. It's fine. Real life happens. They probably just slept in or something, but it may cost them. Like, Hungary is currently faltering to rebels. We know that we have a very hungry Ottomans who will be chomping at the bit to expand into this territory, as will Poland, although we do now have Austria. Austria is back this week, so hopefully we have the counterbalance to Brandenburg. Because remember last week when a couple of the Germanic miners got squished, it was only Brandenburg. Bohemia and Austria were absent. Or maybe it's with not an S. Okay, there's no S. Hey, Olsen.
I was going to say I'm getting ready to unpause it. I just find it cute that you think Austria's biggest threat is Brandenburg.
Well, it's not that. It's that Brandenburg was squishing the other German miners, and I'm kind of wondering if Austria is going to try and protect them now.
We'll see.
We shall see.
Alright, so I'm going to unpause it, and we're good to go.
Go for it. Good luck. Okay, so as we were saying, we now have a new Oman. So Oman's kind of broken my rules with having somebody on the peripheries of Europe, although now that Europe is getting rather busy, we do need to start adding people to the edges. So I've added a couple of new potential nations. Oman was one of them. The Great Horde was another, and the Great Horde does have a player, even though it's currently being half occupied by the Timurids, but they're not actually adjacent, so they shouldn't take any land. The other provinces, or the other countries which are available, I think were Mali, Congo, Kilwa. I think there might have been one or two others. But I've basically opened Africa up to players as well, though we have not yet got any takers. So if anyone loses in Europe, for example, this session, we may well move them to Africa. Okay, so Oman. Let's go and take a look at Oman's goals. So Oman is trying to become the production leader in gems. If we take a look at the trade goods available in Oman at the moment, they have Qatar, which is a gem producer, they have Muscat, which is a gem producer, and they have Hormuz, which is a gem producer, although they don't actually own Hossa at the moment, or Qatar, but it's close enough. So that should give them a pretty solid base to try to attempt the gem producer. They will need to compete with people like Sri Lanka and little bits of India, but they are, like I said, on the peripheries of Europe, so they should be able to get to India if they were so interested. They need to have the trading bonus for spices, so the spice must flow, and 3 of the following out of ivory, Chinaware, tea, coffee, dyes, silk, and incense. So if we go to the trade and then strategic goods, we can see who the trading bonuses are going to. So we need to see the Omani symbol next to 4 different trading goods, and then they will be considered complete. They need to confirm the Thessalocracy decision, just like Aragon does. They have the ambition to become a great power, and they need to own 6 level 3 centers of trade. So Oman's game is very trade heavy. So Oman is kind of like the Venice or Genoa of the Middle East. Like, Oman is a very, very, very nice nation when it comes to trade ideas. And in fact, I would say they arguably have the best trade ideas in the game. They have plus 15% morale of navies, which is just all-round useful. 20% naval maintenance modifier reduction. That's going to be great when it comes to the upkeep of like heavy ships and stuff like that. Trade steering plus 33%, which is actually the highest trade steering a nation can get as a national idea. Unfortunately, Oman is quite low in the ID listing, so it's not as potent as it sounds, but still, 33% is pretty darn good. Shipbuilding, minus 10. National Sailor modifier, plus 10, to maintain all of the different light trade protection missions that they have going. Tolerance of Heathens, plus 2. They are one of the unique religions in that they are Ibadi. Where can I see that? Yeah, it's that symbol. They're in fact Ibadi. No, there it is. Rather than Sunni or Shia. They're another Muslim minority. Then they have got trade efficiency, plus 10, just to make more money. They have light ship cost, minus 15%, and sailor maintenance, minus 5%, so light ships much cheaper, really good for the trade. Naval leader maneuver, of course, maneuver does increase trade power of any fleets they're attached to, and then plus 1 merchant, and then finally a blockade efficiency of 33%. So a really nice mix of trade and naval stuff for Oman. The only thing they're lacking is naval size, fleet force limits, that's the word. And they also get 10% goods produced from the religion as well. Yep, that's true. And they can mix it up with some of the other Islamic schools if they are so interested. Alright, so who is currently fighting? We have got Aragon going after Granada. Aragon, of course, being the definite loser in some of the wars last session. And they are going to be trying to reclaim some land. We've got the Ottomans trying to smash up the Mamelukes while the Mameluke player is not here. That's an entirely legal thing to do. Ethiopia is smashing up Meklaf, trying to take some land from them. Ethiopia... That was Meklaf. Then we've got Holland currently going after Aachen, Alsace, and Savoy, so trying to expand into the Western Germanic territories, particularly Aachen, I suspect. It being on their borders right here. Then we have Portugal helping out against Granada. Seeing as it's a 1-province minor, I don't know that they necessarily needed to bring in all of their allies, but clearly they thought they needed to. We've got Oman going against Mara. Castile is helping against Granada. It's all of the Iberians against Granada. And then England is currently smashing up Brabant to try and take some more of the Low Countries. Poland is currently absent, so Poland is protected. Just double check to see if Discord is saying anything, if any other players are arriving. No. I do kind of wonder if Bohemia is going to appear at some point, so I rather hope that no one gobbles them up. I think Hungary at this point is dead. Like, missing 3 weeks in a row is not good. Didn't watch last session what were the main player conflicts. The main player conflicts was Genoa versus Aragon. Denmark versus Hamburg. Hamburg is now dead, and the Hamburg player is now playing as the Knights. And were there any other player conflicts? We had the chomping up of Hungary, but Hungary wasn't actually here. Oh, and Saxony. Yeah, Brandenburg smashed Saxony big time. And unfortunately, Saxony is not here at the moment, because I know that he had some plans. But yeah, Saxony lost a lot of territory. This was a dismantlement. Saxony was basically this big, and now it's a 2-province minor, having even lost their capital. Where's Saxon? Dresden. That was Saxony, so they gave it to Bohemia. So Brandenburg is actually been feeding Bohemia a little bit, and the Bohemian AI has done a fairly decent job while Bohemia was not here. Unfortunately, Bohemia is not protected, and that may cost him. Gone defensive, gone administrative. Administrative, I don't think is the best idea. Defensive, though, is a good choice. So, what player wars do we suspect are going to appear this time? The players have been very quiet when it comes to conflicts and things like that brewing. I think the thing that everyone is gearing up for is the Reformation. So it is 1483. We've got the Reformation probably in 20 years or so, which might be towards the end of today's session. But there are a lot of nations with goals which are Reformation orientated. So previously, those goals were to do with the League Wars. But obviously without a HRE, there are no League Wars. So I have very artificially created a League War. So there are certain nations which want to be Protestant, there are certain nations which want to be Catholic, there are one or two which want Treaty of, well, neither. Although there is no Treaty of Westphalia anymore, which is annoying, because the Treaty of Westphalia players were going to be like the counterbalance if one team like swung particularly heavily. But now they just have like an interest in not seeing either growing too strongly. Unless the Pope's been keeping it from happening later. I don't think so. If we go to this, I mean, I don't think there's much the Pope can do. Reform desires just all Catholics in the entire world, and as they get events, they can choose whether to provoke it or not provoke it. I don't think the Pope has any way of actually reducing that. And because it's global, Brandenburg will try to do it. Or Bohemia, or Saxony, or Denmark, or Sweden. Those are all the Protestant-leaning nations. Why is there no HRE? What happened? Brandenburg happened. Brandenburg pulled off like a diplomatic coup. He allied with all of the electors in Germany and then had his ally Poland occupying Vienna. And because those were all done, he could just dismantle the HRE. Much to the chagrin of many of the German miners. Like, I know that Brandenburg is not massively popular with the other Germanics because he basically tricked them. He said, yeah, I'll ally you. I'll ally you. Oh, by the way, backstab! Go away with your stupid updates. Not interested. The other thing that we may see happening today, and in fact I think that this is more likely, is colonization. We do have players getting exploration ideas. We're almost certainly going to see a few people getting their first colonial venture idea as well. In fact, the Netherlands already does. They've got the colonial range. If we go to this, can we see if they can reach anything yet? Not at present, no. Everything's out of range. So the Netherlands just needs to get some more trade range, colonial range going on. Do they have the advisor for that? No, unfortunately for them. There is an advisor which increases colonial range even further. Should be able to reform the HRE as any of the German nations, but you can't. Why is one of the Tunis goals during Gotland? Yeah, so during the last campaign, Morocco managed to take Gotland, and it was such an amazing feat. And it's really good for Tunis. So Tunis is one of the Barbary states, which means they can raid from the start of the game. And having Gotland as a raiding base to hit the whole of the Baltic was just such a massive boon for him, even though the AI unfortunately changed him to Al-Andalus, so he couldn't raid anymore just after he got Gotland, but the potential was incredible. So now one of his goals is to try and take Gotland, so it's basically a recreation of that. I mean, there are a few things which are like harken back to previous games or things I've done. Like Poland has to have a border with Ming, for example, and that's one of my Poland games where my goal was to have a border with Ming. I did it across land, like taking the whole of Russia. We shall see how he achieves it. Now, well, actually, he still has Lithuania. I've taken Lithuania away as a player nation. I think it's too late in the game now. So we are probably going to see a Commonwealth once those events start firing. Is this the awesome custom nation multiplayer? No, this is regular, but it's multiplayer and there's like... Well, there's supposed to be 30 players, but there's a couple of them who are absent again today, unfortunately. I did not make a list of the ones that I have absent. Here on my desk, I'd have to alt-tab, and I don't really want to do that too often. So, Phaonix is still fighting... Oh no, it's a new enemy. Hossa and Hadramut. So he is immediately going for Hossa, which is a very good move. and then Hadramut, which is down here. So Oman's just gobbling up all the territories around him. I know that Ethiopia was very concerned about having an Oman player. Ethiopia was intending to take Arabia, and that's obviously thrown a spanner into the works for the Ethiopians. But they definitely have like separate, although overlapping spheres of influence. It's not like I suddenly brought in a dull player. And I think that Oman is going to bring a lot of interesting stuff to this area. Because I know other trading nations, particularly Venice, are very interested in the Gulf of Aden area, as is actually the Mamelukes. Unfortunately, the Mamelukes not being here for 2 weeks in a row is costing them. If you're adding players, is it worth getting them to substitute for missing players rather than adding more countries? Some of them have. So like Calico has actually missed the last 2 sessions, and he's got subs in for France. My stance on that is it's up to the player to bring in the subs. The other downside of having substitute players is you may need to tell them what your secret goal is, and I don't want that being known by too many people because that increases the chance of leaks. If you want to know what the goals are, press !goal, because we've already spoken about what the Oman goals are, but you can still see what they are. They're just listed at that link. You can get a new idea. Just trade ideas, that's good. Who was the other? Oh yeah, Great Horde. Great Horde are no national ideas yet. We shall see if it's Trotsky gets into the game or not. I don't know if he's still trying. But he is protected for this session. If he doesn't make it in for this session, then we'll have to unprotect him again, move him somewhere else. And the Great Horde's goals are not easy, and it does look like he's going to be up against it because of the rebels and things like that. He did start off at war with the Timurids, but I don't think that was too big an issue. Because the Timmies aren't actually adjacent to him, so they can't take any territory. Who else? Elson's still going after the Mamelukes. So one of the Ottoman objectives is to take Cairo. Oh, we have a hotline. Who's this? Sam Davies. This is France. Wait, France wasn't in? Whoops. So, Ottomans. Helson, he needs to own Vienna, Cairo, Rome. He needs to ensure that Egypt, Maghreb, and the Horn of Africa are fully Islamic. And he needs to ensure that each of the Christian factions, Catholics versus Protestants versus Reforms, have no more than one great power. So he basically wants to keep the Christians under heel. If the Great Horde is ruined, Kazan is an option. True, but I don't think Kazan can do as interesting things. Like, one of the goals of the Great Horde is to form the Golden Horde, and then eventually the Mongols. But we shall see if anyone else tries to expand, although because Poland is not here, we may not see as much expansion, except maybe by Muscovy. In fact, almost certainly by Muscovy. Actually, on the community multiplayer tab, I am. They have the same missions. It's not about missions, it's about decisions. Sucks that Hungary players in here really wanted to see how they would do the Black Army. Yeah. I am a little bit annoyed that Hungary is not here. Hungary was kind of important to limiting Ottoman expansion, and because he's not been here for 3 weeks, like, I really didn't want to complain about players, but if you're going to sign up for a multiplayer, then at least try to turn up. Seriously? Like, that's really not on, because there's a lot of planning that goes into these things. It's not fair on the people hosting, it's not fair on the other players, because they make deals with you. Then, like, balance of power situations are affected by players. And he hasn't shown up once.